SunnySide is a farming and life simulator set in the countryside of Japan. After arriving in town, you purchase a plot of land from auction to learn that there isn't a house on the land itself. After getting a ride from Gabe, one of the many friendly townsfolk, you're dropped off on your newly acquired land and set out on the homestead life. Of course, these are demo impressions and may not be representative of the full game release, but let's get to it. But before we get to the main portion of gameplay, we get to customize our character. I didn't know anything about this game prior to seeing a trailer of it at the Women-Led Gaming Show, so I was pleasantly surprised to find that there were a pretty good amount of options for customization. While certainly not as in-depth as some other life sims, there's a good balance of options, especially since SunnySide is blending quite a few genres together. Also, just a quick tidbit, I played on keyboard and mouse since I couldn't get my controller to work, and while I definitely prefer to play on a controller, I found the keyboard and mouse controls easy to adapt to as someone who rarely uses them. SunnySide's demo is limited to 10 in-game days, and you're able to choose from 2 primary game modes, as well as a custom game mode. These can be changed at any time and consist of Cozy Mode, which has the game's economy be more generous, battles are simple, easier and less frequent, while also having standard XP gain rate. Rare item drop rate is increased, and crop and resource harvest quantity is as well. In RPG mode, the game economy has increased difficulty, battles are more complex, challenging and frequent, while XP gain rate is slower, and rare item drop and crop and resource harvest quantity rate isn't heightened. And finally, we have custom mode, which of course lets you change the options of the game economy, battle style, XP gain rate, rare item drop rate, and crop and resource harvest quantity individually between cozy or RPG difficulty. For this demo, I simply went for cozy mode since I have plenty of demos to play through this next week and I wanted it to be an easygoing experience. Like I mentioned previously, SunnySide blends quite a few genres and is clearly inspired by certain games. I get part Sims, part Harvest Moon, part Persona, and basically any cooking game you can think of. I'm bringing this up because my time with the demo didn't allow me to experience quite a few facets of gameplay. Majorly, I didn't see any combat, I didn't experience cooking, didn't decorate or build buildings, and I had limited experience with gardening. So while I did play through the full demo, which took me about 7 hours, there's still a lot the game offers that I haven't experienced. With that being said, you can clearly see some of these influences. Obviously, the Persona part comes in with the character portraits when talking, and even the transitions have that Persona 5 flair. Obviously, the game is partially a farming sim, so Harvest Moon on that end. Sims from the decoration that's going to be there in the full game. And like I said, any cooking game you can think of because cooking is a major part of the game, and I believe the head developer was a former chef as well. As far as what else the game has to offer, there's of course a large focus on farming, and it seems that you can even make your own beverages, such as tea and wine. You can also adopt pets for your homestead and go fishing too. SunnySide has a large social focus and hints at having deeper friendships and even relationships with the characters you meet. Unfortunately, I also didn't get to experience these aspects in the demo. While in SunnySide, you can traverse on foot, on bike, and it seems that as you progress further, you can even get motorized transport. Speaking of transport, if you take the bus, you can get to a city called Higashi. Higashi has a few other places to shop and potentially people to meet. I'm not sure how many other places you'll be visiting in the main game, but in Higashi you can check out the record store. I'm bringing it up because the music in SunnySide really stands out. The soundtrack is basically jazz fusion and is one of my favorite aspects of the game. When doing strenuous activities, you burn energy, and you also have a food meter as well. While there are no penalties for these reaching 0, if your energy level is below 35%, it won't automatically regenerate, and you'll need something to boost it back up again. Fortunately, there are plenty of food options, both from stores and vending machines, and you can of course farm for yourself. I didn't get much of an opportunity to check out the economy outside of spending, and only sold a bit of my resources to pay for parts I needed to rebuild the tea house, so I have no idea the intricacies of SunnySide's economy. Additionally, you have skills such as exploration and farming that can be leveled up, but I'm unaware if these present any boons for your character. While playing the SunnySide demo, I had a few bugs pop up, both technical and gameplay. I had a glitch occur that wouldn't let me move at all. Fortunately, it was a simple fix as I just needed to return to the last sleeping spot from the menu, but I wasted a decent amount of time sitting there trying to get my character to move before I realized there was even an option like that. Another issue occurred when I got my bike. It wouldn't move forward, and so I wasn't even able to use it in the demo to get a feel for transport outside of walking and running. And a more minor issue, at least for me, were the graphics, but not necessarily how they look, as budget and team size are usually going to be the greatest predictor of how quote-unquote good a game looks. And this is obviously an indie title, so I'm not expecting AAA graphics. I do enjoy the art direction, which is like a blend of modern 3D RPGs and cutesy visuals, for lack of a better term. My main hang up with the graphics are the animations of some of the actions. They can be really stiff and kind of pull you out of the game. I have a decently powerful PC as well, consisting of an i7-12700K, RTX 3070 Ti, and 32GB of RAM. But I still had quite a few frame rate issues when playing at 1440p, with the frame rate dropping down into the 30s at times. While there are obviously a few bugs to be worked out, SunnySide's underlying features are incredibly promising. Like I mentioned, it's mixing a lot of genres together and pulling from some of the most beloved franchises of said genres. SunnySide is a game that I can see myself easily sinking hundreds of hours into, and while I didn't get to experience a lot of gameplay that SunnySide has to offer, the snippets of story in the demo and the plethora of characters that you meet certainly leave an impression that there's a pretty interesting story with a lot of social aspects and activities. So should you purchase SunnySide? By the time this is up, it should be day of launch or around there. And to be honest, that's a tough question to answer. I undoubtedly enjoyed my time in SunnySide, but that was with what I experienced only in the demo, and I don't know how deep or well done the other aspects of the game are. I enjoyed it enough that I'm willing to purchase SunnySide when it launches, but if you're on the fence, I would say hold off maybe until you can see more of the gameplay that I'm sure will be online very soon. Thanks for checking the SunnySide Impressions video out. If you enjoy videos like this, consider subscribing and checking back frequently. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.